Good evening to everyone. I'm going to tell you a story for those of you who haven't heard it last time. There was a lady who, in her youth, she was 20 years old, she had a new car. Her parents did not drive, she used to live with her parents. Her parents never drive, so she was happy taking her parents out in the new car and having fun with her own life, with her friends. And just a week before Christmas, she had a car accident, a severe car accident. Boom, she crashed. And she went into hospital in intensive care units. So that was the seriousness of the car crash. With a broken face, a smashed face, unrecognizable person. She even lost her voice, she damaged her voice. And she spent a year in hospital, going in and out, doing operations, so that she had to undergo these operations to be able to walk again, to speak again. And the doctor said, it's okay. You don't have to worry, because your voice now is different. All you have to do when you go back to work, she worked in a bank at that time. She had a clerical job. Said all you have to do is ask your boss to give you a back office work where you cannot speak. Don't worry, the doctor said to the lady. You're not a public speaker. You're not on TV, so you don't need your voice. This lady is speaking to you right now, because her attitude on that bed in intensive care unit was, I'm fighting my way out of here. And what I can tell you, it was one of the best Christmases I have ever heard in my life. And you might be saying, she's crazy. Christmas in bed, in pain, not knowing what tomorrow was going to bring to her? Yes, because what happened is I did not allow the outward circumstance, and the outward circumstance was the crash, the pain, the suffering. But I did not allow the pain and suffering to be able to understand the insight, the learning of why that happened to me. And that car crash was a gift to me 30 years ago, which told me your life is a gift, so appreciate it every single day. Because before that episode in my life, I used to take life for granted. I used to think things happened to other people and not to me. Isn't that right, Paul? When we have tragedies in our lives, it's the way we deal with them. It's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with what happens to you. I'm not mentioning this episode that it was easy. I'm not saying that I worked on the process of mindset in a day or two. I cried. There were moments when I doubted. There were other moments when I was angry. Why did this happen to me? And I judged. Why was I involved in a car accident? Why did this happen to me? Because in the human being, there is a need for us to be right. Okay, as you hear us speak, you might hear in the background as if it's a bomb all the time. Okay, we're not at war. For those of you who are connecting with us from outside our country, maybe remind you that we live in Malta on a very small, beautiful island in the Mediterranean. And today is the feast of our village, St. Catherine of Alexandria. And nothing is happening outside. Usually there are festivities outside. but we are a country where fireworks are important. We've got beautiful displays, and as you hear in the background, listen to them now. These are the fireworks for the feast of Saint Catherine of Alexandria, our village feast. And may we remind you also, today, a month from now, it's going to be Christmas. And as we were saying, Paul, it's not what happens to us, it's how we deal with what happens to us. Maybe you have some experience which you want to share about how your experiences can help these people who have joined us today.
Well, usually when we have these incidents in life, good, bad, you're the same, we tend to judge, to see, and as you said before, why me? Well, the why usually it's I call it a wake-up call, because usually when that thing happens, you have to change probably your mindset and where you want to go. Just an example, we mentioned this in our previous webinars. I used to work in Libya. I used to work in the desert for 5 years, and I used to spend a lot of time there. So practically, I was traveling and not being at home for a long time. Then something happened where at that moment my world just collapsed. In what way? When I was there, I got I got to know that things were not going on in my relationship, and I had to make a decision. At that moment, I thought, all this work, or what I was doing, why it happened to me. I was, I had a good salary, but then I said, what is the most important thing? It's the self, how I live, what I wanted in life. Although sometimes we think we are on the right road, on the right track, sometimes a change will happen. Well, I decided to take, a decision. It was a big decision, where practically I had to start my life all over again. I was practically living in a suitcase, as they say. But of course, financially, I had to release everything. And my aim was always, because when you have principles, especially let's talk about love. I mean, everybody talks about love. I wanted to be with a woman, to share my life together. So I was passing out all through this process, but definitely I knew what I wanted. I knew how this woman wanted to be, how we can be together. And after some time, I met this woman here. And that's when we,
And we never knew each other.
And here we are, married.
So true. And what Paul is saying, every time he says the story, because I wasn't there, so I can go through what he passed with what he said. When he was in the desert and making that decision of moving forward instead of focusing on what was collapsing in his world at that time, instead of judging, instead of blaming, instead of saying it's not fair on me, instead of being angry and litigating, he found something in his inner self which said, let's move forward. We're going to talk about outward circumstances and your inner self in a moment, but let's have some fun. We've just told we come from Malta, and I know that in the audience there are people not from Malta, but even if we come from Malta, I would like you to write in the chat from which country you are logging in. Let's have fun. And while you do that, we're going to go to another point in our discussion. Even if you come from Malta, you are local, please write the name of your country, where you're logging in. The world is so small. Okay, Malek, you come from Tunisia, North Africa. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. OMG, aren't we grateful for technology? We can connect from anywhere in the world.
Well, which coming from Tunisia, merhaba.
Yes, you would understand us if we spoke in Maltese. Ranim, and you also come from Tunisia. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I still remember, yes, when you wrote to us about what you're looking for in this SYL project. Okay, so we have situations in our lives, and the attitude is to move forward. We say we've pictured of how we respond to what happens to us. Now, we are not saying we don't get angry when something happens to us. We don't cry. We don't blame. We don't judge temporarily. All those negative emotions we are saying here need to come out, because this is not a matter of something happens to you and you say, okay, it's okay, I'm going to be positive. I'm trying to be positive. Don't try to be positive. First, get it out of your system. What we're saying here, we coach the people of when you get it out of your system, there is a journey of recovery then, which means slowly and step by step, you will again start finding yourself. Because you cannot put yourself in that hole of that episode which happened yesterday or the day before or a year before or maybe many years before, and it's still logged into your subconscious. And what's it doing to you? It is stopping you and blocking you from progressing in your life without you knowing. So we're saying, yes, temporarily, yes, you might want to smash things against the wall, just do it. But what we're saying here, when we release that instant negative emotion, there is what we call the calm after the storm. That's why after every storm there is a rainbow, a colorful rainbow, which means then we need to start afresh. Like Paul was saying, he had a crash in his life with what was happening, but he moved forward. It does not mean that temporarily he wasn't angry, he wasn't hurtful, he did not cry, he wasn't feeling pain and suffering. Yes, pain and suffering are part of our journey too. What we're saying here is what happens usually, that's what we do wrong, is we log ourselves into that hatred, into that suffering, into that fear of why it happened to us. And one episode, we are people who love movies. I don't know about you, but if you love movies, just give us a thumbs up or say yes. Why? Because movies inspire you. I don't know what it does to you, but it inspires us. Sometimes we even watch a movie all over again because you might hear a different word which inspire you. Guys, I hope you have a notepad and pen and you're writing notes, because it's very important to write down what you learn, because you won't remember after this webinar more than just a few words. You won't remember everything, but when you write it down, you might use those notes in your life in the future. And what's important when you write notes, apply them in your life. Don't just write notes, just stuck them there on a shelf. Okay, so going back to movies, one of our favorite movies is Bridge of Spies, by also featuring Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actor, and in this movie Bridge of Spies, he's the personage, the lawyer, the US lawyer, the lawyer from United States, James Donovan, who is defending a Soviet spy in the US by the name of Rudolf Abel. And you could see in the movie that a good relationship is being created between these two people. And when Donovan, the US lawyer, was explaining to the Soviet spy, the Russian spy, it was Soviet Union at that time, he was explaining the graveness of the situation. This Soviet spy was facing life imprisonment, maybe even more. And when he was explaining the tragedy of the situation, this Soviet spy, in a serene, calm way, just listened. And each time the US lawyer James Donovan asked the Soviet spy, "But you never seem to be alarmed. Don't you worry?" And each time he asked that question, the Soviet spy, Rudolf Abel, always replied, "Will it help? Will it help?" Which is true. When we worry, we have a habit of worrying about something which we don't want. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to do this and nothing happens. I don't want for people to laugh at what I do. I don't want this. I don't want this. And the worry is always about what we don't want. We focus on we don't want. And that kills our immune system and blocks our system to be successful in our lives. Because when we worry about things that we don't want, can we change the situation? Even if something happened, can we change the situation if we worry? When I launched this book in March, I had a book launch. It was all prepared. We couldn't do it because of lockdown. I could have worried. Can you believe launching a book, not having a book launch, which we were going to have fun, inviting our friends. It was going to be a great memory. I was afraid. How am I going to get this book to the people? But in my inner self, I said, I made this book. The purpose is to help people. The universe is going to find a way out with us, and hope to see you next time. Anything you would need and need to ask, you know where to contact us on the site, on our website, shineyourlightonline.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.